Bishop Pablo Virgilio David, Auxiliary Bishop of the Archdiocese of San Fernando, Pampanga, and Parish Priest of Holy Rosary Parish in Angeles City, Pampanga. Allow me, dear friends, to share some thoughts about the meaning of Lent. Lent is a 40-day season celebrated by the Church. It begins with Ash Wednesday and concludes with the Paschal Triduum, the celebration of the Passion, Death, and Resurrection of the Lord Jesus Christ. This is a 40-day commemoration and reenactment that I would compare to spiritual gymnastics. Well, in my sharing on the meaning of Ash Wednesday, I referred to Ash Wednesday as a kick-off day. We kick off for a spiritual exercise, for a spiritual gymnastics or a marathon. Well, actually, marathon is still a very weak comparison because the desert image of Lent is really about a spiritual struggle with the evil one. You know, without exercise, we turn into spiritual wimps. We need to flex our spiritual muscles. And how do we do that? Well, the season of Lent will give you the tips for that. We are told that Jesus, before he began his public ministry, spent 40 days and 40 nights in the desert. And there in the desert, he struggled with the evil one. He was tempted by the devil. But he won over these temptations because he flexed his spiritual muscles. And Lent is a time to imitate the Lord and to learn from him how to struggle with the evil one in this world. Our trainer is the Lord Jesus Christ. If we are in this spiritual marathon and we take this spiritual struggle very seriously, and the tool that he will give us is none other than the cross. The cross is the spiritual tool. It is the lesson that we must learn if we would like to defeat the evil one and to win in the spiritual battle, the spiritual warfare with the evil one. As we begin this season, we sort of enter into a spiritual desert. Desert is the image that is used during Lenten season because we're also reminded of the 40 years of desert experience of the Israelite people before they entered Promised Land. There in the desert, this covenant people was also tempted by all sorts of things, and it wasn't an easy struggle for them before they entered Promised Land. Desert is symbolic of that total state of dependence on God. Because when you are in the desert, you have nothing. You are stripped to your barest necessities. You cannot be holding on to your security blanket and to all your luxuries in a desert experience. Desert is a time of being stripped bare of the barest essentials of life, that we learn to depend on nothing except God. It is a time to throw away our security blankets. It is a time to be reminded that we must learn to listen only to God. The spiritual exercises of Lent would include fasting, praying, and almsgiving. By the way, I take my inspiration about spiritual exercises from the founder of the Society of Jesus, St. Ignatius of Loyola, who wrote that beautiful book, The Spiritual Exercises, reminding us indeed that life in this world is really a struggle, and that if we want to be victorious in this struggle, we have to flex our spiritual muscles. And what are the recommendations of the Church? Well, let's take it from the Gospel. We're told to learn how to fast, how to pray, and how to do almsgiving. These are in the Gospel of Matthew. They are the 3 spiritual exercises. They are also called acts of piety in Jewish tradition. Fasting, praying, and almsgiving. Fasting is really an exercise in self-control. It is not only about depriving ourselves of food. Fasting is really not just dieting, and some people who are dieting think they are fasting. No, that is not what fasting is about. Well, fasting is to deliberately deprive oneself of certain things that we usually crave for in order to show that we still have control of our own desires. Because in general, among the things that are we are most vulnerable, to the workings of the evil one when it comes to our desires, our own cravings. But when we can show that we still have control of our own cravings and desires, then that is a proof that we are still spiritually strong, that we are still flexing our spiritual muscles. Praying, the second exercise. Praying is not really just talking to God. Above all, it is learning how to listen to God. We have to learn to listen to the many voices inside us. And believe me, not all of those voices come from God. Some of those voices are not even your own thoughts. They may be the voice of the evil one. If you do not know how to discern and to sort out among those many voices, you will be misled. That is why we need to pray. The second important spiritual exercise. And lastly, another important spiritual exercise is almsgiving. And the Lord tells us in the Gospel of Matthew, you must not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. Learning how to give and to give unconditionally. Because in this world, people who give usually give with condition. Well, if you want to be spiritually mature and healthy, you must learn to practice unconditional giving. And that is what almsgiving is really about. So there you are, folks. Fasting, praying, and almsgiving, the great spiritual exercises of the church. Please exercise this during these 40 days of Lent, and you will see that your Holy Week is going to be truly meaningful, a meaningful participation in the passion, death, and resurrection of the Lord Jesus. Again, this is Bishop Pablo David saying, a happy Lenten season to all of you, and may you truly experience the joy of Easter.